George Todisco is the founder and creator of the Chicago City Limits troupe. I can't pronounce it, but he's the founder and creator of it. And George, how did the group form? And well, first of all, what is improvisation?
I don't know.
You don't know? You're going to help me a lot with this one, aren't you?
Of course.
Yes.
Is that the reason they call this face-to-face? Because we really are face-to-face?
Well, we wanted to call it cheek-to-cheek, but we couldn't get the band.
The last time we sat like this was over dinner, wasn't it?
Well, it was over dinner. Anne was serving, and
yes.
and she spilled something on me, and I never forgave her for it.
Actually, improvisation is kind of what we're doing now, only, only it's funny. No. Improvisation is creating scenes on the spot from audience suggestions, and that's what we do.
Well, who developed this? I mean, did somebody just go out and say, well, listen, I'm going to get up and do something silly, and maybe people will pay for it, or?
Well,
I mean, how did it all begin?
Probably.
It's a structured thing.
Well, and it started in Chicago. That's why our name, Chicago City Limits, because improvisation really did begin in Chicago. You're from Chicago, Rick. You should know that. At the Compass Players, Mike Nichols, Elaine May, which eventually sprang out into all kinds of improvisational companies. The Committee in San Francisco, Second City in Chicago, which is doing pretty well for itself lately.
I've heard that they've got their own place now.
Yes, they have a little place on Wells Street.
What about the Viola Spolin method? What is that? I've heard about that.
Right. Okay.
I never asked you about it.
Viola Spolin developed improvisational games for the theater, which was based it's similar to method acting. You know, the funny thing is people who do, New York is a heavy method city. I mean, you can't go on the subway without anybody getting ready for it, you know what I mean? But they prepare themselves. But Viola Spolin's improvisation is not in, what do I want to say? It goes along with method. And she did take her methods from method acting.
All right, so you don't regard her as the grand madam of...
Oh, no, yes, I do. As far as improvisation goes, yes, she wrote the book on it. I think it's the only book on it, improvisation.
Okay, so it got to Chicago, and the people there developed it into Second
performance
City.
Level.
Performance
In other
level.
words, Viola Spolin's methods were for theater games to teach you how to loosen up. So if you ever had to host a show or be on a show,
yes, right.
you could be very loose.
I could have used Viola.
She's waiting in the wings. I think she's about 92 now.
She must be.
But what she did was, what happened then, her son, Paul Sills, living off his mother's fame, came to Second City.
Boy, am I glad this is cable.
They'll never see that. No, actually, what he did was take her methods and apply them to improvisation for performance, which means things that were theater games getting you ready to loosen up for stage work, to get into a character. He now wanted people to create instant characters right away on stage. In fact, there's a book written about his beginnings called Something Wonderful Right Away. I'm plugging Second City again, but that's okay. We love each other.
Are separate from Second City.
Definitely.
Now,
so separate it's not even funny.
Well, there have been many confusing statements regarding Chicago City Limits. Is it Second City on tour? Is it what?
No.
But what is the definite difference? Let's get this out and tell everybody.
It was the name Chicago City Limits. Probably can be confused with Second City, but what we were trying to do was taking the name of the city where improvisation was born. And Chicago really is the mecca for improvisation. Of late, improvisation has come to New York, but Chicago spawned all kinds of companies. And we were working concurrently in Chicago with Second City, and there wasn't room enough for both of us, and they weren't leaving. They had a long lease.
They really.
And we just had an old 57 Ford that we used to work out of, so we left.
The story that you took your name of Chicago City Limits just because you could get a free sign isn't true. You have some basis.
No,
well, that's part of it.
In Chicago, it was true. It used to say Chicago City Limits 1 mile, and we'd perform there on the Edens as you
Did you really?
I
think I saw you there. You were picking things up as I drove
Isn't
by.
that where we met?
That's where we met, yes. That's right. You were there, and I was there. And
Yes.
But what about now, how the Chicago City Limits started? Now, you've got 7 members in your company now.
Right.
And did you start out with the same people, or are you?
No.
What?
People stay with us a year, they fight, and then they leave. That's how it normally goes.
Well, how long have you been together?
This cast has been together. This cast has broken the norm. This cast fights, but they stay together. So we've been together now for...
It's like a good marriage, then.
It's like a bad marriage, but it stays together. It's like a Catholic marriage.
Catholic marriage.
It's bad, but we have to stay together. No, we've been together now, the core of the cast, 3 years, just about, and the latest cast members over a year. So I mean, it really is, for a company to stay together, for an improvisational company to stay together that long and not be paid is phenomenal. I mean, I think it's really great.
You came to New York a year and a half ago.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now, what was your strategy to break into the New York entertainment field? I mean,
we had no strategy.
You had no strategy.
We were very naive, and we thought, you know, we'd show up and people would fall down.
Where'd you go?
We went to a little seedy hotel, and 7 of us lived in 2 rooms. And
maybe you'd like to tell us the name of that hotel.
it was. I would love to, because I still go there periodically.
What is it?
It's called the Hotel Arlington. You know, and if ever you need a pencil, you can get one at the Hotel Arlington. No, it was a little hotel which is famous, I think, for people who stay an hour. You know what I mean?
I owe one of those, yeah.
And I think we were the longest residents in the history of the Arlington. We stayed 3 months in the Arlington Hotel. We stayed on every floor. We would jump
every floor.
We really did. And soon we eventually found places.
Right, so you decided to make the move from Chicago.
Right, and we went out west because it's cold in Chicago and that was warm. So we went to Las Vegas, and in Las Vegas we played at the Las Vegas Improvisation. This hooks up to how we got to New York.
Oh, tell me.
Tell me.
Tell
yes,
me. I
want to tell you. Later we're going to have quiche at Penny Feathers.
Oh, good.
And
you can all come too.
We went and we played at the Las Vegas Improvisation. Bud Friedman happened to like us, which was very nice.
And Bud Friedman being the owner?
The owner of the Improvisation. He liked us, therefore we like him. I find in this business, if someone likes you, you like them. If someone doesn't like you, you hate them. That's how I run my life.
Long story, and we're not going into it at the moment.
But so by way of the Las Vegas Improvisation, we came to New York and we thought, aha, do we have an in at the
Just
Improvisation?
Like that? It was like an aha?
It was an aha. Well, I'm spanning years, Rick. It's like a literary fade out, fade in. Okay? So we were in Las Vegas. We did the Improvisation. People liked us. The club closed and burned down, which is true.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit now because, in interest of time, but you now have a theater.
Yes.
How did that come to
fade in
about?
And fade out? Yeah.
Aha.
That was
I hope
an
I did that
aha.
right.
We
now
now
have a theater
now. Yes. Well, we needed a place to perform. If you don't perform improvisation constantly, you get rusty. And so, you know, performing in each other's house was getting a little difficult. So I ran across an ad in the Village Voice, my favorite paper. I love the Village Voice. And I ran across an ad that said, you know, loft across from Manhattan Plaza. Well, I figured, you know, it was just a little loft, but I ended up calling up. It turned out to be what was at one time a little rock club. So I mean, the thing had a stage and a little office, and it was just what we needed.
I understand that you're going to be starting workshops so you can teach improvisation, teach the methods.
Yes.
About that. Well, what's that about and when do they start?
Well, actually, I feel that people have a lot of money to spend that they don't know what to do with. And so, you know, why not get them in there, let them think they're funny and take their money? I mean, no, I'm only kidding. People are going,
well, listen, I mean, if you're throwing, if you want to cut it, it's up to you.
That's what people think. Actually, our workshops, see, I'm only saying that to eliminate those people who aren't serious, because I want serious people. No, I don't think there are several improvisation workshops in New York. There are, and they're good. But I think people come from different schools of improvisation, and I would like to kind of foster our bent on improvisation.
So are you going to be teaching these workshops?
Yes, I will be. Yes, I promise. And there'll be the initial workshop is going to be soon. You can just call the theater and find out.
What's the number of the theater?
The number of the theater is 695-2351.
Are you listed?
Of course, Chicago City Limits Improvisational Theater. The workshops will be geared at getting people to improvise in a real way. You know, when we improvise, people think you stand up on stage and create funny one-liners, and that's impossible. What you do is try to create real situations, and the humor comes out of those situations. But to get people to do that on stage is very difficult.